That's classic. We bring you great laughs and a unique behind-the-scenes look at classic television shows and movies. I'm John Cato. I am an actor, voiceover artist, and also bring you an amazing insight as a moderator with over 20 years experience in the television industry. Hey, Rich.
Good morning.
Hi. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Not bad. Pretty nice in Vegas today. No wind.
That's a big deal. That's a great deal. Well, I am thrilled to have you on the show. Absolutely. Just really, really excited. I have been a big fan for many years, and growing up, I swear you were on every show on TV. So anyway, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Total pleasure. So basically, I'd love to start like early on in your career, kind of going forward. I'm curious. I've read different things. I read that you started out, you were doing like impressions in school, and then you worked at a movie theater and you'd stay at the back of the theater doing voices. Is any of that true?
That's true. I was a lousy usher because people were trying to find their seats in the dark, and I was too busy looking at the movie.
Oh my gosh.
And, they got upset about it and complained, and I tried to behave myself. But, I was always fascinated with movies. And even today, I watch a movie almost every day. I've got a collection of over 1,000.
Wow.
So I'm a huge movie buff. I watch movies. I watch movies in the buff,
How did you know, like, how does it just happen that you say, you know what? I'm good at impressions. Where does that come from?
Well, I started imitating teachers at school. They were my first subjects. And I knew I was going to get into show business because it wasn't long before the teachers were charging a 2-drink minimum and a cover charge.
I love that. Now, I understand your break in the US was with that you had known Mel Torme, and at the time he was musical director on the Judy Garland show. Is that how it got going?
Yeah. Mel was on the Judy Garland show as a musical consultant, and he ended up holding cue cards for Judy, which he hated.
Wow.
But he did it anyway. But because of his connection with Judy Garland and 2 Canadian writers that were on the show, and they started my career in Canada. With the 3 of them, that's how I got on the Judy Garland show.
Did she have to, kind of give final approval?
Oh, yeah. Actually, it's very interesting because when Mel pitched her about me coming on the show, and you'll forgive me for saying this, but this is exactly what she said. She said, "No, I don't like impersonators. They make me fart." That's what Judy Garland said. That little girl from Kansas said that. Do you believe that? So anyway, Mel thought, well, I guess I'm not going to get him on the show if she feels like that. But when she heard my impression of James Mason, when I did my impression of James Mason from A Star Is Born, that's what got me on the Garland show.
No kid. Yeah, right. Because of course that's her movie. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and she got along great with James Mason. And so she loved my impression of him. And when I did my routine on the show, I finished off by doing James Mason. And that was a smart decision because she just came unglued with that.
Oh my gosh. What was she like? We've heard a million stories. I've seen the movie, I've read books. What was she actually like for you at that time?
Well, she was great. She didn't come to rehearsal much. That's why if you look at my routine on that show, her reaction is quite genuine because she'd never seen me do my routine before because she didn't come to rehearsal. So her reaction is quite genuine, and she's reacting to my impressions. And if you watch it, you're looking at her, you're not even looking at me because her reaction was incredible,
Wow.
She was very nice. I can remember one day when she did come to rehearsal, she was kind of bored and she turned to me and she said, "Rich, let's get out of here and go to the movies."
No kidding.
Yeah, yeah, we didn't, but that was nice of her to say that.
Oh, that is great, especially the fact
Imagine
that
us
you love
going across
movies.
the street and going to a movie with Judy Garland. That would have been interesting,
Oh
huh?
my gosh. I mean, I can't even believe it. You know, you are such a unique celebrity in the sense that you have like literally, yes, you've done the impressions of all these people, but you've also worked with all these people. Have you met most of the people that you have impersonated?
Oh, yeah, 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 most of them. I don't go as far back as Humphrey Bogart. I never met him.
Mhm.
But a lot of the people, I'd say 80% of the people I impersonate, I've met and worked with.
Wow, that is incredible. What about when
And
I
they're
the
all gone. They're all gone now, It's
I
a
know. And by the
that's
way, you
sad.
look seriously, you look terrific. And I got to say, one of the things that I was so impressed with you is you're still at the top of your game. You're still at, I read that you have the longest running contract or engagement at the Tropicana. Is that true?
Well, I've been there 6 years now. I
Wow.
originally was only going to do a couple of weeks, and then it kept going and going and going, and I enjoyed it so much. And now here we are, 6 years later, and I'm still there. I do Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 6:30 at the Laugh Factory at the Tropicana.
Wow. I do,
It's a
do
great,
you,
it's a great gig for me because I'm only 25 minutes from home, and I only do about an hour and 10 minutes. So it's a great gig for me.
do you think that, and I mean this in the best way, do you think that Vegas has kind of like, in essence, kind of kept you going? I mean, you look terrific and you're still, like I said, you're still going strong. Do you feel like that has, that kind of energizes you?
Oh, yeah, 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 to have something to do. As George Burns said years ago, he said, Rich, you've got to have a reason in the morning to get out of bed, or maybe get into bed.
And a good sense of humor too. Come on.
Yeah.
So what now? This is the other one. I've always whenever I think of you, I think of Jimmy Stewart. I think of your impression. I feel like you had more than just this. I'm doing an impression of someone. It feels like you had a close relationship here.
Yes, I did. I really did. I had a very close relationship with Jimmy Stewart. He was a lovely man. He was very shy, though.
Huh.
If we did a function together, a charity or some event together, he would usually sit in the corner, and his wife Gloria would work the room. She was a dynamo.
Wow.
And Jimmy would sit in the corner, and I'd go over and sit next to him and try and get him to talk. But he was very shy. But a sweet man, very nice man, though. And he loved my impression of
Oh
him.
my gosh.
He said, Rich, it's too bad I didn't know you back in the 40s, and you could have helped to dub some of my movies. And then I could have made a lot more. I remember one time we did a function together, and his routine, it was funny. He dreamed this up himself. He said, I'm very fond of Rich Little. As a matter of fact, I was thinking of adopting him. But Gloria said, no, 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 Jim, no, no. Two people around the house going, whoa, 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 would just be one too many. And I think he dreamed that up himself. It was very funny.
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. I love hearing that. Now, another one on that I was blown away by. I heard that you actually did the messages for the crosswalks in his hometown. Is
That's
that
right.
true?
That's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They, I guess when you press the little button at the street corner to cross the street, you would hear me as Jimmy Stewart say something like, now watch out for traffic, and Harvey may be driving by, so watch out for him because you're not going to see him, but have a good day, and just watch yourself when you're crossing the street.
Oh my gosh, seriously. That is awesome. That makes me want to just go there anyway. It's I wish I could remember the name of the town, but it was in Indiana, I believe.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. The other one too is, growing up, especially, I remember you, certainly on the Tonight Show, but I remember you on the Dean Martin roasts with
Yeah.
all those different celebrities. I felt like you were on a lot of them. Like, I mean, it wasn't just like one or two. You were on quite a few.
I did about 23 of them. Yeah. I think I did more Dean Martin roasts than any other performer. I think Nipsey Russell was did a little less than I did, and then Don Rickles. But I did the most on that show.
Wow. Were there any in particular, any of the celebrities that were kind of like your favorite ones?
Oh yeah, yeah. If you've got them, there's like 40 some shows of the Dean Martin roast, and my favorites are the Jimmy Stewart, the Johnny Carson, and the Frank Sinatra. I think those are the three best for me, anyway.
Did you? And this is another thing. I mean, I read a bunch on you, but that the Frank Sinatra impression was one of the hardest ones. It took you a long time to nail that one. Like I read 7 years. Is that just a bunch of baloney, or is that true?
No, that's true. You know, at one time, I did a benefit with Frank Sinatra. I forget where it was. And I was at rehearsal with the orchestra, and I was doing my Frank Sinatra impression. I didn't know that Frank was in the wings watching me. If I'd known that, I would have seized up, you know, but I didn't know that. And I started to do my impression of Frank Sinatra, and Frank walked right on and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Rich, you better work on that." You know, he said, "I think you could do that a lot better. Why don't you go hit somebody?"
Oh my gosh. Oh, that is a great Frank moment. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
What about Dean Martin? I mean, yes, they were his roast, but what was he like? I mean, you hear so many mixed stories. Great guy, but then they talk about his drinking, and then they say he doesn't. Yeah. What was the truth?
Well, he didn't drink as much as people think he did. Mm-hmm. He spilled most of it, actually.
Wow. Wow.
He did drink, but I don't think he drank as much as Frank and Sammy. I think he drank less than those two, you know, but he did drink. He did drink. One time when I finished a roast and we were all walking off the dais just for fun, I picked up Dean's cup that was in front of him and took a sniff of it, and there was booze in there.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool to know that. Was it, what did you ever, well, you probably do the impression of Sammy, but did you get a chance to meet Sammy?
Oh yeah, Sammy was great. You know, he was Mr. Entertainer. I mean, he was always full of energy, and he was always very upbeat and fun to be with, you know, and did a lot of great impressions too, you know.
Yeah. Well, he could do it all. He could dance, sing, act, whatever it took. Yeah, without a doubt. Speaking of which, by the way, you actually appeared on quite a few shows, but one in particular that I had taken notice of was The Flying Nun with Sally Field. Right. And you did not do the impressions. This was a straight character actor role.
Yeah.
How did you what is that like for you, to play like a character, but you're not doing an impression. You're just
Well, I did 2 or 3 Flying Nuns with Sally Fields, and I played an accident-prone priest, Brother Paul. Oh, wow. It was sort of a Clouseau of the clergy.
Oh, that's cool.
And I thought there was going to be a spin-off, and I might get my own series out of it, but it didn't happen. But I did 2 or 3 episodes.
Did you enjoy, having the experience of, hey, I'm just acting, I'm not here to try?
Oh yeah, well, I did a lot of acting just where I played a character other than do impressions. I did Hawaii Five-0 with Jack Lord, and I played a murderer. I played it as James Cagney, but I played a murderer on the show. And I did a police story with Angie Dickinson where I played a murderer too. It's interesting when you have kind of a squeaky clean image that I did back then. To play a murderer is very effective because they don't expect you to be the murderer, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's a great move on the director and the producers.
And I played a murder rapist on Policewoman.
Wow.
And I remember phoning my mother up the day after it aired, and she said, "I never watched it. My son is not a murderer."
Oh my God, I love it. What, you were on so many shows. You were, I know Ed Sullivan, Jackie Gleason. These are other people that you hear about. What was your experience like working on the Ed Sullivan show?
Well, Ed was kind of a strange man. He had no talent, no personality, and no charisma.
Wow.
How he became a big celebrity, I'll never know. He couldn't even read a cue card, really. He was
Wow.
kind of an early Biden when you think of it.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And Ed was just, you never know. I remember one time he came to me and he said, "Your routine tonight is running a little over. You've got to cut down." I said, "Ed, I'm only doing 3 minutes. How can I cut down?" He said, "Well, let me think. Why don't you take the impressions out of it?"
Oh, jeez. Is that true?
That's true, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that says it all. And what about Jackie Gleason? I mean,
Oh, I love Jackie Gleason. He was
yeah.
great. He was great. Jackie was wonderful and got along great with him. And yeah, larger than life, and but very, very nice to me. And I didn't have any problems with him at all. He was
Wow.
great. I just loved him.
Did he kind of get when he was in the room? Did he take over, or did he kind of give you your moments?
Oh no, he gave you your moment. He was a big drinker though, but back
Yeah.
in those days they all were really.
Right.
Jackie, boy, he could put it away. I did a show in Vegas with him. I can't remember what it was for, but I was on it with Jackie and we did some sketches together, and he was stoned out of his mind for the whole show, and he was word perfect.
Wow. Wow. That is crazy. Oh my gosh. So I gotta ask you, I mean, I'm sure you had to talk about this a million times, but do we know at this point what the whole Johnny Carson thing was? Because I mean, I remember you on the show. I remember you not only on the show, but hosting the show. And then suddenly, as you said, it's over. What did you ever find anything out on that?
Never found out why. I went down there a number of times and tried to find out, but I never got an answer. And then I found out later there were a lot of people that were no books on the Tonight Show. Like Mel Torme was a no book, and there were a lot of them. And you couldn't find out why, because they wouldn't tell you. But maybe you said something, or maybe the producer didn't like you for some reason or other. But I never really got an answer. But I got along well with Johnny though, because even though I was a no book on the show, I met him about a year before he passed away at a restaurant, and he was very, very nice to me. He said to me, "Rich, are you still doing an impression of me?" I said, "Yes, John, I am." Really? You are? I said, "Yeah." Do they know who I am? Do they remember me? I said, "Of course they remember you. Everybody remembers you, John." I'll be damned. I thought that once I was off the air, people wouldn't know who I was.
Wow. Wow. You read about him, and I've seen like some of the documentaries on him, and it said like he got very reclusive once he left the show. And that's crazy to hear that. I mean, my gosh, you talk about bigger than life. He was.
Well, Johnny was great on the air, but off the air, he was very to himself and didn't socialize, and you could hardly get a word out of him.
Wow.
If you went to a party where he was there, he was sat in the corner and talked to nobody. He was a very lonely man. He really was. For a guy that was that popular and that funny and that quick, to think that he had no friends and was kind of a sad character, it's kind of depressing to think of that, but it's true.
It is. It is that one still boggles my mind to this day. The other one you're very famous for is John Wayne. And then I read, which I'm like, come on. Is that true that when you got your citizenship, the judge says to you, "Hey, can you do it in John Wayne's voice?"
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He was a big John Wayne fan, the judge. So when he swore me in, when I became an American citizen, he wanted me to do John Wayne. "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, Pilgrim."
I love that.
I thought later, wait a minute, did I become an American citizen or did John Wayne,
Exactly. Oh God, what was the other? Oh, the other one I was curious about that always comes up. Everything I read about, I've read about you. Paul Lynde's name comes up all the time. And I personally always loved him. I thought he was one of the funniest guys in any show I'd see him in. What was that connection? Did you know Paul?
No, nobody knew Paul.
Yeah, seriously.
Paul was a sad person, I'll tell you, very sad.
Wow.
He was an alcoholic, you know.
Oh, I did not know that.
And sometimes we do Hollywood Squares, and after the dinner break, he was stoned out of his mind, and they used to have to strap him into the chair, into the square,
Oh my gosh.
to keep him
Oh
from
my
falling
gosh.
out. And even though he was really out of it, he was still funny. But
Wow.
he hated my impression. I mean, he hated it when I imitated him.
Oh my gosh, you were dead on.
Every time I would do him on the show, they would cut to a shot of him for his reaction, and he'd go, "How's he doing? Who's that? Oh, that's disgusting. Get a day job." You know,
Oh
yeah.
my
He
God.
hated it.
Like,
Absolutely hated it when he, "Who's he doing? Is that supposed to be me? Oh God, get a day job." You know, it's funny.
like I said, you were dead on. By the way, you I understand that the present like Hollywood Museum squares, you're like center square in a couple of them. Is that right?
Yeah. One episode, I think I was the center square. I did what back in the days when Paul was on the show. When he was not there, I was in the center square a couple of times too.
Okay. Okay.
And if
Wow.
you're in the center square, you're asked a lot. You know, if you're in
Yeah.
the corner square, especially the one I was in, the top corner square, they didn't ask you many. Sometimes you do a show and they never ask you anything.
Oh, wow. That's wild. That is
Mhm.
wild. Now, another one, and this is going back to, I love these stories, and it's so fun to be able to hear your validation of these things. Now, is this true? You did an Elvis impersonation on the radio like umpteen years ago, and like a swarm of hundreds of women showed up at the station?
Right. That was on a radio station, CFRB in Toronto. And it was
Wow.
April Fool's Day. And they had me on imitating all these famous people, including Elvis, as kind of a joke, because it was me, it was not the real people. And when I finished doing the show, I was walking out of the studio, out to my car. There was a big crowd of people waiting to see Elvis. And I walked out and I said, "No, Elvis isn't here, it's me." And then they all booed.
But they actually drove down to the station.
Yeah, some people came from long distances to see Elvis. And when I walked out, there was no Elvis. They were really angry. I thought they're going to storm the place, you know?
But what talk about the ultimate compliment on an impression. Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible. So the other one, obviously, is you're so well known for all the presidents and everything like that. Just to go through a few, what I heard, this one blew me away. Another one, I think of you, I think of an impression of Richard Nixon, like dead on. But then I hear that when you did it in front of him, he didn't actually pick up it was him. Is that true?
That's very true. Yeah. This was early in my career. I was asked to a party down in San Clemente, and all of Hollywood was there. And in those days, all of Hollywood were Republicans. They weren't Democrats back then.
Wow.
And my whole act was there. I never met my act before.
Wow. Wow.
And I remember we were outside by Richard Nixon's swimming pool, and everybody was talking and having a drink. And Debbie Reynolds grabbed me by the arm, pulled me around the swimming pool, and threw me at the back of Richard Nixon, yelling out, "Mr. President, Rich is going to do you." For a moment, he thought, does that mean he's going to kill me? And he turned around and he looked at me like I was from another planet, and I didn't know what to do. And everybody gathered around, and I did my impression of Nixon in front of him.
Wow.
And as I'm doing it, he turned to his wife, Pat, and said, "Why is this young man speaking in this strange voice?" And he didn't know I was doing him.
That is crazy. Literally crazy.
But I thought I did a pretty good Nixon in front of him because when I left, his wife Pat went with me. Oh, no, that's not true. That's not true.
It's a great line though. Okay. And then obviously the other one is you had a very special relationship with Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
I understand too.
Yes.
Was that before his presidency or was that after he became president that you
No, that
became
was after he became president.
Oh,
I
I
didn't
see.
know him before.
I got
But
you.
he was a wonderful man with a great sense of humor. He just loved to tell jokes all the time.
Wow.
And he did a few impressions too.
Ronald Reagan?
He did Jimmy Stewart, not great, but passable. And he
Yeah.
did John Wayne. And one time he did Truman Capote for me.
Wow. Wow. Ronald Reagan doing
Ronald
Truman
Reagan
Capote.
did Truman Capote. And it wasn't bad either. But he said to me, he said, Rich, what do you think of my Truman Capote? I said, Mr. President, I think it's very good. He said, yes, but I don't know what to say. And I said, well, I'll give you a line I use and you can use it. Oh, no, I wouldn't want to do that. No, really. He said, okay, what is it? And he got a Secret Service man over and he wrote the joke down on his back. And he said, what is it? And I said, well, my name is Truman Capote. And, you know, a lot of people think that I wrote in cold blood, but that's not true. Actually, I wrote in ink. And he wrote that down. He wrote that down on the back of a Secret Service man, that joke. I write in ink. And then he said to me, I'm going to try that out on Gorbachev. So then I thought to myself, boy, would I ever love to be there when Ronald Reagan did his impression of Truman Capote for Gorbachev. I mean, can you imagine the reaction?
Oh my God, that would have been classic. I mean, if you'd have been in the room, anybody, how you could keep a straight face, there'd be no way. Oh God.
I'd love to have seen that.
Oh, that's so funny. And you actually you stayed at the White House, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I had a couple of luncheons up in their private quarters and got along well with Nancy. And as I said, Reagan was great because he liked humor. Mm-hmm. And you never felt you were talking to a president. You felt you were talking to a lovable old grandfather. You know, he was just such a pleasant guy. Wow. And had such a great sense of humor and that little sparkle in his eye. And of course, well, I think I've gone to the well once too often.
That is amazing. The other things that I don't think a lot of people might realize is how, yes, you do impressions, but you've done impressions where you've actually helped out other actors like David Niven in Curse of the Pink Panther.
Yeah.
I read that you basically did the voices that at that point he could hardly speak. Is that
That's
true?
right. Well, he had Lou Gehrig's disease, you know, and he couldn't speak. And he made a couple of Pink Panther movies where you couldn't make out what he was saying. But Blake Edwards, who directed those movies, thought they could get him in a studio later and take a lot of time and make it audible. But by that time, he was worse.
Wow.
So I came in and did his voice. And I also did Peter Sellers for a couple of lines they didn't have because he had passed away.
Oh my gosh. Did you have the opportunity to meet either one of them?
No.
Okay.
I told Blake Edwards, I said, I like David Niven. I admire him so much. And he was living in Spain. I said, tell him that if he wants me to come over to Spain, I will walk behind him when he goes to the store and order for him. But I don't know whether he ever did that or not.
Oh, that's funny. And well, actually, I hadn't even thought of this, but when you mentioned Blake Edwards, of course, I think of Julie Andrews. Mm-hmm. You were also on the Julie Andrews show, right?
Yeah, that was the most enjoyable thing I ever did was the Julie Andrews show because they used me so much.
Wow. And
the two writers who got me on Judy Garland were on with Julie Andrews, and they knew my routines cold. And so they wrote a lot of material for me.
Wow, fantastic.
We did a lot of sketches with Julie, and she was wonderful. And
Yeah,
I
is
did,
she as
I
kind,
did,
as sweet
I
as
did
she?
almost every show, but about two.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow,
she was only on for one season.
wow. Was she as sweet as
Yes, she was
everyone
great.
thinks?
Wonderful, wonderful lady.
Wow, that's amazing.
Always upbeat and full of enthusiasm and always complimentary and just a darling person, really. Got
Oh,
along
what a
great.
voice. I mean,
And
yeah,
and then she lost that voice,
I know.
later on in life. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Now you have a book that you've put out, which by the way, I love the title. Oh, nice timing, Rich. I love it.
What's interesting is this is the first time I've seen this copy because this book came out about 5 or 6 years ago, and the publishers did not promote it at all. It didn't do well at all. Nobody knew it existed.
Yeah.
So here it is 5 years later with a new cover, a couple of new chapters, and I'm re-releasing this book.
Oh, fantastic. And now it's Rich. Is this Little by Little? Is that what the
Right.
title is? Yeah.
Yep.
That's fantastic. Now,
People I have known and been.
yeah. Now I'm looking at that, and I mean, there's so many that everybody thinks of. I'm getting the book, by the way, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't, and I read them all, and I didn't know about it. So you are right; they didn't publicize that worth a darn. Because
No, they didn't. No.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, it's not a biography at all. There's a few chapters at the beginning about my childhood that are kind of funny, but it's mostly about the people I knew and worked with. So it isn't really the story of my career. It's just what I thought of all the people that I worked with. I mean, here's an example right there, Howard Cosell.
Oh, Howard Cosell.
And then being a sketch artist, I sketched all the people that I impersonated and before the chapter, you see.
You did that?
Yeah.
That is exceptional, Rich.
Well, thank you. I draw a lot and I do a lot of sketches, and I've done a couple of hundred over the years. Here's my Jimmy Stewart,
I mean, they're dead on. You don't even look at those and go, oh, wow, nice try. I mean, that looks fantastic.
Well, thanks. I actually was sketching before I did impressions. I
Wow.
was sketching when I was about 12 or 13 when I started. I'd sit on the streetcar and sketch people on the streetcar, and then before they got off, I would give them their picture.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But I never thought it would go anywhere because when I gave them the picture before they got off the streetcar, they usually ripped it up.
Oh, jeez. Kind people, very kind. Well, listen, I definitely want to get that book. I have a couple other ones. I heard that Jack Benny, who obviously I'm not saying that he was cheap, by the way, but his whole shtick was that he was so cheap, on all of that. That was part of his thing. But I heard that he gave you like an 18-karat gold watch after he saw your impression. Is that true?
He gave me a watch, but it wasn't that valuable. I think he had a number of them that he gave people.
But was it inscribed or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't even know where it is now. Isn't that awful? I don't know
wow.
what happened to it, but he did give it to me. Yeah.
Did
He was another very sweet man, Jack Benny. There was
Really?
nobody in show business as nice as Jack Benny. He was
Wow.
so down to earth and very, very little ego, and easy to talk to, and loved humor, And
Wow.
his favorite impression that I did was Spiro Agnew.
Really?
Loved my Spiro Agnew.
Oh my God. Okay, come on. You got to do it. Now I got to see it for Spiro.
Spiro Agnew. You remember Spiro
Oh,
Agnew?
of course I do. Of course I do. With Richard Nixon's VP. Yeah.
Well, Spiro Agnew had kind of a voice like this. Let me give you an example of my attitude towards politicians. They stink.
It's so funny, but I know that it's dead on.
He had kind of a voice that went up and down like this, Spiro Agnew.
Yeah. That's funny.
Jack loved my Spiro Agnew. I guess they were great friends, And Frank Sinatra was a great friend of Spiro Agnew's too.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding. Wow. Interesting. Was it,
I remember one time Frank
Yeah.
did a benefit for Spiro Agnew. I can still remember this. And he took them the song Lady is a Tramp, and he sang it in front of Spiro Agnew. And instead of saying tramp, he said champ, right? That's why this gentleman is a champ, right?
Wow.
And when he hit the last phrase of the song, he forgot and went, "That's why this gentleman is a tramp."
Oh my God, that is funny. Was Frank, is that true? Like, I mean, obviously it sounds like he joked with you, but was he one of those guys like, hey, either you were either on his good side or you were on his bad side?
That's exactly right. Yeah, it depended on the mood he was in. He was a man of many, many moods. When he was in a good mood, he was the greatest.
Wow.
But when he was in a bad mood, keep away from him, you know. I never saw the bad side of Frank Sinatra, ever, but it did exist. I mean, there's no question about that. We know there are a few bodies out there that are unaccountable.
Oh yeah, yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt.
Yeah.
The other one that is in that kind of the roasting, and actually I think they might have done a roast on him, was Don Rickles.
Yeah. Don
What
was-
did you guys cross paths a lot? Because I know he was big with Vegas as well.
Well, I met Don a lot on the Dean Martin roasts. You
Mhm.
know, Don did a number of them, and we'd see each other on the roast. Matter of fact, the best part of doing those Dean Martin roasts was before we did the show, we were in the green room, and that was the best of doing the show was in the green
Wow.
room because everybody socialized and you got to chat with Orson Welles and Jimmy Stewart and Jack
Oh,
Benny and all
geez.
these wonderful people. And then Dean would stick his head in the door and say, "Hiya, Pally, let's have some fun, okay?" And we'd go out and do the show. I remember one time, this is typical Dean, we were leaving the green room to go out, this is in Vegas, to go
Uh-huh.
out and do the show. And we were walking to the dais. And as we walked, Dean turned to me and said, "Rich, who are we honoring tonight?" And I said, "What? Who's the guest of honor?" I said, "You don't know?" No, nobody told me." I said, "It's Michael Landon." "Oh, that's a good choice. I like him. Yeah, we're going to have some fun." So I thought to myself, here we are about to start a roast and he doesn't know who we're honoring.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody told him.
That is amazing. I mean, seriously, that is incredible.
Yeah.
What you mentioned Orson Welles. I mean, I can't let that one die. What, there's a man of many different, images that people have of him. What was your take on him?
Well, I did a movie with Orson Welles that I never was in. I went to Phoenix and we shot this movie, The Other Side of the Wind.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
told-
That's the Peter Bogdanovich.
Yes.
He
And
brought it back or whatever.
I
Yeah.
told Orson that I only had 3 weeks to do it because I had commitments. I had some club dates to do.
Mhm.
And so the 3 weeks were up and we weren't only halfway through the movie and I had to leave.
Wow.
And I had no choice. I would have been sued.
Wow.
And so I did. I left. I had to. And then Peter Bogdanovich came in and took over my part, and they started shooting from the beginning again.
I'll
So
be
it was
darned.
never in the movie.
What was it like working with Orson?
Oh, it was great because John Huston, the famous director, was
Oh.
in the movie too.
Wow.
And the fun part was going to lunch with them, with
Oh.
Orson Welles and John Huston, and yours truly sitting at the table while they ran all of Hollywood down and all the people they liked and didn't like.
Oh my God. What did you hear? Come on.
Well, I
did you
heard some
hear?
great stories. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, did you hear anything?
I remember
in
one time
particular?
they said, Orson said, "John, I've never liked James Mason." And John Huston said, I don't care for him myself, actually. I don't think he's that good an actor. And then Orson said, "Well, he wasn't bad in a couple of movies," but they would discuss people and either run
Wow.
them down or praise them. And I remember they talked about Errol Flynn a lot.
Oh, one of my favorites.
And apparently, John Huston and Errol Flynn at a party got drunk and had a big fist fight out in front of somebody's lawn.
Oh my gosh. I
This
could
is
see it.
True story.
Yeah.
And Orson said, "And you beat the tar out of them, right?" Not exactly. It was a draw.
Yeah, John Huston wasn't a small guy either. So yeah, that would have been quite a fight. Wow.
Yeah. I'd love to have seen that.
Oh,
Wow.
me too. I would have loved that moment. So you another one, I'm sorry, but just so many. You've had so many. I could sit there for days, but Kirk Douglas. what was your, was it a roast that you did with Kirk
Yeah,
Douglas?
it was a Dean Martin roast.
Wow.
And I did Kurt Douglas on it and got a big reaction from him. And that's the only time I ever met him.
Oh, that's nice to hear. He had a good reaction though to your
Oh,
impression.
yeah, he loved it. He loved it. Most people like it because they're flattered that I do them, unless I say something to put them down, which I usually didn't. But most people like my impression of them, except Paul Lynde. He hated it. But
Yeah.
I remember Tony Randall hated my impression too.
Really?
Remember Tony Randall?
Oh, come on, Odd Couple. Of course.
He said, "Rich, you've obviously have not captured me at all. It's impossible for you to imitate me because I have perfect pitch."
Which is humorous in itself.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but anyway.
Right. Oh, wow. So another thing, obviously you're so well known for all these, what I would say the greatest of actors and celebrities. Is it true that, is this a true statement? I heard that when you look at the present day actors, a lot of them have just a not as distinctive a voice as a lot of the greats did. And so it's not as easy to like impersonate them. Is that true? Like a Brad Pitt, or let's say, somebody in that
Clooney or Mark
Sure.
Damon. Yeah. Hard to do those people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing distinctive about their voices. Yeah.
Really? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And
some people you can imitate in a second, like Dr. Phil or somebody that's very distinctive, like Andy Rooney of 60 Minutes. I used to love to do him,
Oh, come on. He had the most unique
Andy
voice.
Rooney of 60 Minutes. Why do they call it an asteroid when it's outside the Earth's hemisphere and a hemorrhoid when it's in your ass? I don't get that at all.
Oh my God. I mean, sorry. That is just too funny. Okay, so I'm sorry, you got me good on that one. The other thing is laughing, which Rowan Martin's laughing. When I was a kid, I mean, I'm sorry, that was the Saturday Night Live. I mean, that was just so funny. How did you like working with that cast? I mean, you had them all on that show. I mean,
that was a great show to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of big Hollywood people did that show. I remember the first time I met John Wayne, he was on Laugh-In playing a rabbit. Dressed up as a bunny. And I'll never forget that because I showed up on the set to meet him. I'd never met him before. And there he was in his bunny outfit. It was kind of funny. John Wayne in a bunny outfit. And somebody said, "Rich, do your impression of John Wayne." And I went, "Oh my God, I can't do that." And they all gathered around and I did my John Wayne in front of them and I did the walk.
Oh, geez.
And when I finished the walk and walked right up to him, he looked at me and he said, "Well, I guess that's the way I walk, for God's sake. Good Lord, I've been walking like Loretta Young for 30 years."
So he had a good sense of humor too.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah.
Wow. Were there any of, I would think that, yes, you're doing these impressions, but also, you were a young guy, whatever. And were there ever moments where you were almost speechless? Like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually here right now with this person that I idolize. Like,
doing the Dean Martin roast was really tough because not only was it a very popular show with a big audience, but you're performing in front of the greats of Hollywood. They're all at the dais, and that's a lot of pressure, and you had to really calm yourself down because of the pressure. And I can remember there were a couple of people who did the Dean Martin roast that were so bad they weren't on the show. You'd see their names at the beginning and they never showed. They just
oh my God,
out of the show.
Was there ever a moment where you did meet somebody or whatever where you literally were like, floored?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially for the first time, you know.
Yeah.
I met a lot of people I'd never met before on the roast, you know, like Gene Kelly
Wow.
and oh my God, so many great movie stars did that. Angie Dickinson and you know, I mean, everybody did that show. My God, the green room was packed with celebrities, and that was a big thrill, you know, to be with those people of that quality.
Yeah. Was Gene Kelly, you brought him up. I understand you also dubbed his voice. Is that right?
Yeah, I did Gene Kelly for a couple of Christmas specials, and you know, Gene had that voice that was kind of a, well, you know, the way he talked, and I did him for a couple of for Noah for a Christmas special where he lost his voice, and
Wow.
I dubbed him, and the understanding was that I wouldn't tell anybody, and
Interesting.
never did until now.
Hmm.
But I don't know whether you can see that or not. But apparently, they said they didn't know that I did it. They thought
Wow.
it was Gene. They thought it was Gene.
Did you get a chance to meet him at any
Oh
point? Or
yeah, I
yeah.
remember one time at the height of my career back in the 70s, I was working the MGM Grand and making a lot of money too.
Hmm.
And Gene Kelly came up to see me and wanted me to do a show with him.
Oh,
That I do
wow.
the voices and he'd do the dance. And I was
Wow.
flattered that he asked me. I was just overcome, but I didn't do it because I was making so much money, you know, at
Yeah.
the NGM that to be a second banana with Gene Kelly, I wouldn't make half the money,
Right.
and so I had to turn him down, which was kind of sad. I wish I'd done that actually. That would have been.
Wow. Wow. Isn't that crazy? It's funny that you say that because I also saw in one of the interviews you were saying, "Hey, I haven't been on TV in like 30 years or something like that." What, in all seriousness, what did happen? Because I mean, Rich, I seriously, I'm not exaggerating. I felt like I saw you, whether it be daytime or nighttime, forever for the longest time. You were
Well, I
always
remember the when I was on the Letterman show, and really came off well on that show too. And I did some of my best material on it and went over very well. But I can remember David Letterman telling me after the show, he said, "Well, we'd like to have you back on again, but the only way you can get back on the show is to if you have a book coming out or you're in a movie.
wow.
Otherwise, we won't book you."
Wow. Wow. Is that crazy? You would just think just the pure entertainment of having someone on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, when you reach a certain age, they don't want to book you on. You know, they want a younger audience, so they think you're past your time. So it's tough for me to get back on TV.
That's so crazy. So crazy. I don't agree with them at 1 second. The other one, I noticed that you did the Emmys recently.
Yeah,
The tech,
the
I believe it's
technical
the
limits.
technical. Yeah.
Yeah, up in Vegas. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. How did you enjoy that? I believe the two gentlemen, and I know it dealt with television. I might get their names wrong, but I'd be Paul Nipko and Maurice LeBlanc, I believe.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, it was a very technical show, and there was nobody on there that I knew. Nobody.
Wow.
And I did some comedy bits, and they went over pretty well. I'm not sure everybody knew who I was, but I thought I did pretty well. And it was a big event, and it's put on every year, and it's called the Technical Emmys. It's for people that are in the technical side of show business.
Oh, how
So it
interesting.
doesn't have a great appeal to a vast audience, you know,
Right.
because it's technical. But it was done in Vegas, and I was the comedy on the show, and it went over pretty good.
Very interesting. I do this on every episode of our show when I have someone on. I like to give them their moment a little bit. Yes, I would love you to show your book one more time, but also what charities. I this is another thing that I read that you're involved in certain charities. Which charities do you kind of like to you know put out there for people?
Well, Wounded Warriors, I've always been interested in that. Gary Sinise, who is a
Mhm.
wonderful man and does a lot for the troops.
Yes.
And up until the last year with COVID, I was selling my books and my art and my TV shows after the show, and all the money went to the Wounded Warriors. So I've made for them thousands and thousands of dollars, but I
Wow.
haven't done it because of COVID for the last year. But before that, I was making them a lot of money, and that was good, you know, because I'm really behind the troops.
Yeah, I think that's terrific. Well, believe me, I mean, I try to get to Vegas from time to time, but I will definitely come to your show next time I get that chance. That it sounds just like you still are doing just a terrific program there.
Well, it's fun to do it. I appeal to an older crowd who know all these people.
Sure.
I had a 15-year-old kid sitting right down in front the other night. And I thought to myself, he's not going to know anybody I'm impersonating. And I looked down and he was laughing his head off. He was almost on the floor. He was laughing so hard. So I went up to him when the show was over. I beckoned him over and I said, you seem to enjoy my show. And he said, oh, Mr. Little, you're so funny. But I was confused, though. And I said, confused? What were you confused about? He said, well, as you did your act, I was just wondering why you kept changing your voice.
Oh my God, I love it. By the way, did you ever meet like the older one? I mean, yes, John Wayne, certainly, or like Jimmy Cagney or
yes, I did meet Jimmy Cagney.
Did you? Where? I'm just curious.
In Malibu at a luncheon.
Wow.
David Huddleston was a great friend of him. He was a character actor. Frank McHugh and Edmund O'Brien was there.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, gosh, I was just going with Jimmy Cagney, but what was Edmund O'Brien like in Jimmy Cagney? What were they like?
He was very nice. I can't remember too much about it, except that Cagney came up to me and said, I understand that you do an impression of me. And I said, that's right. He said, what on earth for?
Oh my God. I love it. I love it.
I one time did Edward G. Robinson at a party at Jim Backus's house.
Oh, wow.
And it was full of people and they were all talking. You couldn't hear anything. And Edward G. Robinson was pretty well deaf anyway. And I did my impression of him in front of him where you couldn't hear anything. And I'm sure he heard nothing, right? And I did it anyway, even though nobody could hear me.
Oh,
and then when I finished it, he looked up and he went, like, perfect. And he couldn't hear a damn thing.
Did you get a chance to talk to him at all?
Yeah.
No, I mean, because I think of like Little Caesar, Edward G. Robinson, Little Caesar. What was he like in person?
He was very nice, but as I said, he was deafer than a post. I mean, I'm doing the impression in front of him and he's not hearing anything, but he thought it was great because he wanted to be nice, but one of the great actors of all time, very short, I remember he was looking up at me and, he was great in Double Indemnity. That was his best, I think his best.
Oh, great. Yeah. They're oh man, all these actors. It's so great. Well, Rich, I could talk to you for hours. I don't want to, keep you. And I know you have your show. Is your show on tonight? Is that right?
Yeah. 6:30 at the Laugh Factory at the Tropicana. I'm there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday every week.
Are you doing matinees on the Saturday and Sundays?
No. I just do 6:30 I do about an hour and 10 minutes.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. You want to share your book one more time just so that people will see it? Because I'm sure people are going to go out and want to get it. That's so cool. That's awesome. Listen, just thank you. I enjoyed every minute of it and I love talking with you and I think you are like a treasure. So
you're a great audience. God, you can come to the show anytime. You're right down front. Yeah.
Well, I will definitely, if I am there, believe me, I will stop by after without a doubt because I would probably be laughing my tail off. So, but thank you so much. Really.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bottom of my heart.
You're right.
Being on the show.
Okay.
I wish you tons of success. Keep going, but you've already done it all. So,
okay, I'll do my best.
Okay, take care, Rich. Bye-bye.
Oh, that was fun.
Hey, if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button in the corner of the video so that you don't miss any of our future YouTube podcasts. Also, follow us on iTunes and Spotify and leave us a review.